What's up everyone, Alex here. I thought what would be a really fun video to do today is just a simple what's on my Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, because there's a lot of stuff on here and I get different questions about certain things. So I thought I would start from the outside and go inwards and talk about different apps and games and things, and pretty much give you a nice little tour of my Retroid Pocket 3 Plus. I have other stuff with me. I brought the Odin is next to me just in case I want to do a comparison here and there. And I haven't really been I haven't done any videos on this thing really, except for one, but my Miyoo Mini with the Sakura retro modding buttons and sticker. And this is one I love, but I don't actually use very much, but I do see myself using it if I am out and about. Say if I'm like waiting in the car, or I don't know, just somewhere where I'm more remote. There's just something about the Miyoo Mini that feels amazing about playing remote and playing in bed. Playing that in bed is great, but it's nice to have all three of these together, especially the way I have them, because they're all modded. They're all like a certain look and I love them, but for some reason the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus just sits very nicely for me. It's just the best like all-rounder. It's light, it's just got really good dimensions, and it's really powerful for what it does. So let's have a look at mine, and here you can see that I have Vita buttons instead of the regular A, B, X, Y buttons. I have a Vita D-pad. Now both of these you can buy from AliExpress. I'm not sure if certain stores are selling them as they did like a month or so ago. I'll look and I'll leave links for everything in the description if you want to look for anything I'm talking about, hopefully. But this mod was not easy, and it's actually more difficult if you want them to be a dome style switch. If your PCB board is a dome style switch, so these buttons actually have just a little bit of travel, and I really like those. It's different on the Odin. This is definitely more dome style. It's just clickier and very, very reactive. I think the same for the Miyoo Mini. But the 3 Plus does not have that. It's a different one. But I really like that for some reason. So the D-pad is very much dome-like, but the buttons, they're a little they've got a slight bounce to them, but I actually like that. So if you wanted to do this on a dome style PCB board, because this mod is fairly difficult, what you'd have to do is when you get these buttons, you have to sand them down and also like sand and trim off the legs to match the original buttons, so they slide in the exact place inside the PCB board and in the case, well, mainly the case. And I would say that's easier to do with this type of button. If you're only using sandpaper, if you have dome style switches, then you're going to need like a more precise file to get down and get it just precisely exactly how it needs to fit. But yeah, those are my buttons. And then we've got the sticks. These are the regular sticks on the Retroid Pocket, except they have Vita thumb caps on. It was literally just a case of what the original had is you just peel off the rubber off the top and then you put these on top. Vita thumb caps are very cheap. You can get them from Amazon, and they add a little bit of height and just grip to them that actually feels very nicely. It feels very nice. And this case was a purple case, a clear purple case, but I did a modification where I dyed the case black. And I didn't know how it's going to go, but I actually really love this case because the clear purple shell actually has like a nicer texture and quality to it than the clear shells. So it feels like it has a bit of better grip for it. And I'm going to be doing another modification on my Retroid Pocket soon, as when they start shipping the orders, I'm going to get a grip. So I'm going to do a review of the grip when that arrives. I'm also getting a clear blue shell, which I intend to dye as well, and I'm going to have a new screen. And oh yeah, I'm also getting the Hall sticks from them as well, because they were like $10. I thought, why not? We'll see what the Hall sticks are like. And yeah, so that's pretty much the outside of the case. So let's turn it on and go inside. So also another thing, I get asked a lot about this, well not a lot, but I get asked about this live wallpaper. I found this on Google Apps. Actually, it'd probably be best if I show you now. So I'm going to go to my settings, and I'm going to go to display and go to wallpaper, and I downloaded, I guess it's called Live Wall, and if I go to Live Wall, the app's going to open like this, and it's strange. It gives you, up here you get this key, you get 5 keys, and you can download any 5 wallpapers that you like. Scrolling through here, they're all animated, but as long as you like keep watching their ads, they'll give you more keys, so you can find out which ones that you like. I've tried some different ones, and the one I like at the moment just, I feel like, matched the case and stuff, so that's what I did. So there's some pretty interesting ones. They're all animated, and I think there's a few more apps like this on Google Play, so there's even Spider-Man, Crisis. So yeah, just check it out on Google Play. Literally just check out Live Wallpapers or something on Google Play, and you'll get different applications that do all these sorts of things. Some of these are very artistic, some of them are more moody. I like the more moody ones. That one's pretty cool, actually. And that looks a lot like the one I have already. And what will happen is when you download it and apply it, it will go into landscape mode. Or that might actually depend on if you have auto rotate on, which has gone this way now, which is here, which I don't have on. So actually it'll just turn anyway. So that's Live Wallpapers. I'm going to get rid of this. So the other question I also get a lot is, what is the front end I'm using? And this is called Pegasus. Pegasus is for different platforms, Windows, Mac, Linux, I think, but also Android. You can download the APK for this off their website, and you can sideload it. There's different ways to go about installing this, and one of them is just getting the APK and doing everything manually. This takes a lot of work. And I have videos of me doing this on the Odin, because I also have it on here. And this is a modified version of the theme that's called Shinretro. And I did my own music. I made all these little videos as well, because I just had a really good time modifying them. I should probably turn the music down a little bit. It was just a little project I really enjoyed last summer, and the creator of this theme liked the music and some of the little changes I did, so he implemented them into his version of the theme. So the one I have is slightly different, and it's very unique to me, but you can also download Shinretro. I'll leave a link as well to where you can get themes for this. For example, I'll show you that if you go into the settings. I have another one here which is called ProsperoOS, and what this does is it makes it look like a PlayStation 5. I modified this one a little bit as well to have different sound effects and music. So I can switch through my different categories. And it's very PlayStation-like. If I was to head over to the PlayStation section, like PSP for example, and it shows all the artwork. So all this artwork is from, we call it scraping, and when you look up guides, I think, so I'll link my videos to my Odin Pegasus videos, because they're both Android, so it's the same thing really. And I go into a little bit about how some of the stuff is done. They're not tutorials, because I used tutorials I found on YouTube myself, so I feel like I don't want to copy someone else's work for my own. And but I did also leave links in those descriptions for how to download what I've used, to grab the metadata I used as well, which can be kind of confusing. And that segues into an interesting thing actually, because I had to do a lot of different work to get certain things running. So what I'll show you now is my apps. So we'll go down to apps and notifications and go to all apps, and it's all alphabetical order, so we'll just go through and see what different apps I have. Obviously I have emulators and Android games. Some people ask me, how do you install APKs? If you go to Google Play and literally search for APK installer, this one's a really good one. It's very simple. If I go to install APK, this is my internal storage, and if I just copied an APK over to my internal storage, it would find it here, I would click it, There'll be a checkbox. I can install it, delete it, and it's just very easy to manage. So this is where I install APKs, except for Skyline. Skyline's different, so I'll show that in a moment. And also this apps packages info. This comes from an app called F-Droid, which I had to sideload using the Aurora store, which is here. I don't think that's on Google Play. I think you have to download that online yourself. But apps packages is incredibly useful for when you are, so for example in Pegasus, I have a customized Android section to where I've got my own art that I made for each of the apps and Android games, and also its own metadata, so I can launch these different things. So for example, if I wanted to play another Metroid 2 remake from Pegasus, I would also have to find out some of the data to make a button for it. So up here you can see it says com.logical.am2r. That's something you'd have to put in the metadata, and then we can find the other thing, which is in activities, and you can see here next to, there's two of them. The light's a bit too bright. I'm trying to change it. So we have two activities here, and one of them says launch next to them. So pretty confident that's the other piece of code we need to use. And that one says runner.activity. So in the metadata, I would have to put this top one here, com.logical.am2r/.runner.activity. I know that's not going to make sense to basically everyone, but if you've dealt with metadata and know about the run section, which is just a line of code that says like run this, which is in just like every metadata, then you'd understand how this is very helpful to make brand new buttons. So that's that. And if I come back here, so Aurora Store is basically a nice different store to sideload different APKs that you might not be able to get on the Google Play Store. This was incredibly helpful for me in the case of, say, Trials of Mana, which I first had to get an emulated version of Android. I think it was called BlueStacks on PC, and then using BlueStacks I was able to purchase the game from the Google Play Store with an emulated version of Android on a emulated device that the app thinks it can be bought from. I know that's confusing. And then I was able to download that app using the Aurora Store to this device or whatever device I have that installed on, and then get it running without Google Play getting all funny about it. So yeah, I know that's just a lot of words to some people. Chrome Citra, this version of Citra is the Vulkan version, which I did a video on recently, and so that makes some games a little bit more playable. It's still being worked on, so give it time. Maybe it's not worth checking out just yet. It's being tested a lot, so I'm confident in the near future we'll have a version of Citra that has a Vulkan backend that makes a lot more 3DS games playable. And this is Citra MMJ. It's got a blue logo, but so does Citra Enhanced, but I don't have that installed on here. So more games and emulators. I'm just trying to see if there's anything unique. F-Droid was sideloaded so I could get that Android's packages thing. Game Pass. Gboard is because I like to have a different keyboard for typing with, so I downloaded Gboard instead. And LiveWall, so it's definitely called LiveWall. You can download that on the Google Play Store to get a different LiveWall for when you start up your Retroid Pocket. Is there anything else more unique here? I can't remember what Quick Step is. I'm trying to remember what that is. I don't know if it's something that came with the Retroid Pocket or not. And I will go into some of these, but some of them are in like the collections I'm about to show you. XAPKS installer. This one, the only reason I have this is because it's the only one that lets me install Skyline. So maybe somebody else, maybe people use a different APK installer, but I have to use this one where I go to internal picker and slide all the way down. And when I've got a new version of Skyline, I'll install it from here, because APK installer does not find it for some reason, so I use this one instead. So this is how I install the newest versions of Skyline. And those are my apps. I don't think I need to show anything else there. And I don't think there's anything much to show here, except anybody that's curious, if you go to handheld settings here, you can check out some of the settings that's specific to the Retroid Pocket, specifically inputs, probably the most useful one. If you go to controller style, you can set it to retro, which is your Nintendo style, or Xbox, which is it A, B, X, Y? Yeah, I don't know. I'm so used to the Nintendo style. It's mostly because I've been using Nintendo Switch in the most recent years compared to anything else, and I'm just used to it that way. And it works with the PlayStation buttons, because that's like, in Japan, circle is accept and X is go back, whereas in the US and Europe it's the other way around. I kind of like the Japan thing for some reason. But yeah, so those are those settings. And here we are back to this launcher, Pegasus Shinretro theme. So I have some cool options here. I don't think you can change the language. I can change the color scheme. Whoa. So that's bright white. Bright white's kind of cool for certain things. I don't like it too much. But the first time I ever found this, I saw it in bright white, and it actually looked really good. I didn't know it had a dark theme. I modified the SteamOS theme slightly. I changed a couple of colors because I preferred them that way. I don't know why dark isn't that dark. It's not as dark as SteamOS, but SteamOS is my favorite. Ozone Dark is nice, but SteamOS is the one I usually use. So I can turn sound effects on and off. I'm not really going to go through this because my Odin Pegasus video, basically, I did a walkthrough of this whole thing. I can change the way the logos look. So if I go over here, it says Sega Genesis in white. But if I go back and change it to color, now the logo is a proper logo in color, which is really cool. But on some of these, they don't show up very well, like Dreamcast. There's just black text. It's kind of hard to see. So I prefer to have mono. Region, I forget what that is, to be honest. Control scheme, if I change this at the bottom here, you can see these buttons. If I change them, then it goes like Xbox style, PlayStation style. Sorry about the zoom, but you get the gist of it. And then you have some settings for the different settings here. So home and home, collections, games in home. When you're looking through your collections, if you want to, you can have videos of anything you want. So for example, here in collections, I have these videos I made. So Sega Genesis, and I made all these. These are really fun to do. It actually took me way longer than I really wanted to. But if you're sitting there just mulling on like what collection you want to play, that's why I made these little videos. I wanted them to feel like little GIFs that just go back and forward. But for some reason, these videos start with a little hiccup. I don't know why, because on the Odin they're incredibly smooth. I can show that. I don't know what it is, but whenever I move to a new video, it's just smooth without that little hiccup at the start. So yeah, so in collections I have videos on, and I made those videos. You can also change how some of these look. I'm not going to go too much into these, but games, for example, if I was to just go to PlayStation, and I like it this way on the Retroid Pocket, 'cause it's smaller screen, so we have 6 games per column, so they're nice and big, each column, and I can just have a nice little nose at each of these properly. But if I wanted to, I could change it so that I had 4 games along 5 rows, and now you can see that there's 5 different rows, although they're not like completely there, with 4 games along each of them, if I wanted to do that instead, which is more how I have it on the Odin, because the Odin's got a bigger screen and it's just a lot nicer to see these games this way. Whereas on the Retroid Pocket, I much prefer to have them how I originally had them, which is 6 games, 1 row, and they're all just is that how I had it? Now sometimes this glitches out and the sounds stop working, so I need to just back out and just go to reload games, and then the sound effects are going to work again. So there we go, 1 row, 6 games each, and it just shows the box art with a title screen. Does that not have a title screen? Oh no, that's going to bug me. I pretty much have all of these set correctly, and there's game description. I say video because I'm so used to doing YouTube videos. Yo, Gamera 2000 is super cool. I actually played this. Okay, I'm just gonna open it. This game is like Star Fox 64 meets Panzer Dragoon. You have like 4 different angles, and besides your ship, you have a giant ass kaiju turtle flying around that will. So I can fire my lasers, but if I hold them and do a lock on, it's the giant turtle that takes them out. This game is awesome. It's not very big. Totally recommend people play this. So fun. I think I played this once on a Saturday morning when I couldn't be asked to get out of bed. So I just laid in and played this. Had a great morning. And that's one of the beautiful things about these devices. It just takes you back to a more innocent time, just chilling out as a kid playing video games. Super cool. So that's pretty much the settings. There isn't too many of them. The settings are different per theme, and there's a lot of different themes. I'll show you this quickly actually, because I only have 2 themes on the Retroid Pocket, because I pretty much decided I only want Shinretro. But on here I have loads, and they're all different. So for example, Skyline OS, this looks like a Nintendo Switch. Super cool if you want that. PlayStation 2 games, just roll around, look at your PS2 games. If you want your console to look like the Xbox OS, you can just flick through your different games. There's PlayStation games. Slide through your different apps. It's got little sounds as well. Wii games. Actually looks really nice. I really like Pegasus. When I first saw Pegasus, because I was never a big fan of front ends, and everybody now uses Daijishu, which looks really good, but it's like, do you want the thing that everybody else uses? And to me, that's like, no, I don't. I want to use something a bit more tailor-made. I want something a little bit more special. And that's the beauty of Pegasus, because you can find all these different themes. Some of them look really cool, and a lot of these I can't even remember what they are. Some of them are very clean, very nice. There's a really cool one that looks like constellations. I can't remember which one that is. Is it Homage? Yeah. But for some reason, it doesn't have controllers for each one. I really like the look of this one. It's really good. But the only reason I said nah, because it's not complete. There's look, Nintendo 3DS, there isn't one. Yeah, and then when you slide in, it's got box art, screenshots for the games. This is a really good looking one. I don't know how good that would look on the Retroid Pocket, because it's the Retroid Pocket's quite small. But this is a very classy theme. I really like this one. I pretty much I didn't download every theme, but this is a lot of them, because I just wanted to have a really good look at all of these. This is sort of Xbox style as well, but Yeah, I just wanted to give you an example of the kind of themes you can look at. There's Pegasus Grid, there's one which is designed for the Retroid Pocket 2 because the screen is so small. So this is why everything looks so big. And I can flip through the different categories. Have a little mosey through NES games. Blast through the NES games. So I really, 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 really like Pegasus. Very, very cool. Really good. Oh no, what's this? This is different. What? I've never seen this before. I don't know how to change the theme back. These are like individual settings for this particular theme. But I don't know how to go back to go back and change the theme to something else. Oh no. I'll figure that out later. That's not an Odin video, it's a Retroid Pocket video. And I'd love something like that for the Mini. I literally just said Retroid Pocket video. I'd love something like that for the Mini. I made this, I think I copied one of the themes and edited it to start up like a PlayStation. I do really like the look of this, but one of the downside of the sticker is if it ever gets caught on anything, it starts to sort of slightly tug at the edges. I had to replace one of these stickers because it happened too much on one of them already. I got this cool Metal Gear Solid style theme for Onion OS. I don't even know, do I have any games loaded? Gran Turismo 2, Gremlins 2, Boulder Dash, sick game. Okay, so Bombing Island's interesting, fun puzzle game. Kid Clown, a Mega Boost, Turnabout, and Pokemon Unbound. I wanted to give that a try and I just never got into it. I think something's wrong with my Miyoo Mini. I've seen people press these buttons and they're kind of clicky, but these have no click to them. They have almost no travel. I don't know if it's meant to be that way. So I'm recording this the next day because at the end of the video I placed the Miyoo Mini down here and it stroked the enter key, and on OBS it just, that for some reason that was the button to stop recording, and I literally went on for another hour or so just showing the rest of my Retroid Pocket, and when I realized what happened, I just went straight to bed. I was gutted. So it's the next day, and at the end of the last video I was just looking at different themes for Pegasus, and then I proceeded to go on and literally just go through each of these collections and sort of show some of them off and some of the games I have, some of the apps. So I'm literally just going to continue from where I left off, I guess. So I looked at games and grids, and then I was going to show the home section. So here you can easily carry on playing anything you've been playing recently. This is some of the stuff I was looking at yesterday, so that's a nice reminder for me to go over what I was doing. I think I can pretty much look through my favorites here, and yeah, these were certain games I checked out. The favorites is really cool. You can favorite any game in any collection and easily navigate to it and just get back to playing just the favorites you like. And my version of this theme, for some reason when you didn't select something, there would be this transparency of the title screen and the screenshot together, which really bugged me. I had to fix that. I don't know if it's fixed in the current Shinretro theme, but maybe it is. I haven't checked out the progress on that theme in a really long time. But yeah, that's simply it, the home screen. And then we have the collections, and I think I said, I made all these little videos because this was a little project I did last summer when I was doing this on the Odin, and during the video I was doing yesterday, I kept saying I can't figure out how to go back and change my theme. I figured it out now, so if I have to do any comparisons, then I can do that easily. And yeah, so when you have Pegasus, it will automatically make a Android section for you. So if I go to enable, disable data sources. Here you can see it says Android apps. If it was turned on, it would create an Android section for me, and it would just fill it with all the Android apps that I have. So I have turned it off and made my own Android section. It's fairly simple. It's quite similar to the other collections, except when you basically have to. So when you put a ROM in your folder, so it's like on the NES, it would be like Super Mario.RAR. Instead of that in your Android folder, you would actually just make a text file and change the save file type to anything. So in here, for example, Xbox Game Pass, let's say AM2R, I'd create a file called am2r.and, and then I could use that file to be recognized in this collection. And yeah, this is the Android section, and I just keep it sort of short and sweet in here. I don't have many Android games. I don't really see the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus as much as a device to game on Android, but I don't know. I should really sort of look into that again. I'll leave a link in the description for certain games you can get. There's a couple of Reddit threads that show games with controller support, and just some other like really good games you can get for Android. I've picked the ones I really like, just like really good 2D ones. I'm going to start here with Game Pass. So I still have Game Pass, and of course streaming on this device is really cool. What I was doing yesterday when my video got ruined, I just sort of checked out Tunic for a little bit, and my current control style is the retro style. I'd need to go into the settings and change the input over to Xbox, and then these buttons will correlate correctly to the game. I think the Xbox, if that's the A button, it's here at the moment, but I'm not going to be sitting here playing a Game Pass game for a while, so I'm just going to show it off for a little bit and test it, and then get on with looking at the other Android games. So it's always really neat to see these little devices being able to stream these all these games. And Game Pass gives you a crazy good selection. And if you don't use it very much, you can apparently you can just return to it at some point and try it out for $1 again, which is insane. So when Hi-Fi Rush got released recently, I said, yeah, I actually want to test and give that a try. So I again got Game Pass for $1 for 1 month, and I knew I wasn't going to renew. And I know some point later this year I'll have the same thoughts again. Something will come out, and I will want to test it again for $1. I think a friend of mine, he had a really cool idea. So you can basically buy, I forget how and where you do it. Maybe it's from like a CD key site, but you can get sort of like a cheap gift card for Xbox, and there's a way to use this to get like a lot of Game Pass, like 12 months or so cheaper than you usually would, rather than just like renewing it. But yeah, I can't remember how you do that, and I wasn't really too interested. That's probably why I don't remember. But yeah, just like running around playing Tunic. I played this for a little bit. I wasn't crazy into it, to be honest, but it's got a lot of praise. So it's neat to think, oh, what should I play? And having Game Pass is just a really nice way of just checking out a catalogue of games, especially newer ones, and going, oh, actually, that sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, that's Game Pass. There was really like no latency there. That felt very nice. It's always a good idea to get AM2R. Another Metroid 2 remake is a very, very good fan remake of the second Metroid from the Game Boy, and I played this on PC when it came out. It's been updated a bit since then, and it's just really good, and it has controller support, so if you're in the mood to play a Metroid game and you don't know which one, this is actually a very good one to play. One thing to note, you can see here that the screen doesn't stretch out to the entirety of the Retroid screen, and this is because of the 3-point system here I'm using. I don't know why that is, and I don't know how to fix it. well, for this, but if you want to have full screen in this game, you need to change that system back to the gesture system, where you would like swipe from the right and do gesture-based controls, and that way this game will be full screen. That's the only way I could find how to play this game in full screen. So maybe if you're like really into this game, you can just sort of bear that for a bit and just change over the swiping thing back to gesture. It's really not that bad, but I do prefer this 3-point gesture system here. Gesture system, you know, navigation. That's what I'm trying to say. Really cool to have that game on here. And Crosscode is another one that's really awesome, but this isn't actually for Android. This is so there's a GitHub for this, and basically some people found a way to port Crosscode over, like the PC version, over to Android. And what this means is, like, you have an APK to install this game, but you need to basically own the game on Steam. So you can buy the game on Steam cheap on a sale whenever you want, and then you can install this APK, and it will ask you to like bring some of the PC data files over onto the Android, and then it's going to create an OBB, which is sort of like an Android data file. And with that, then you suddenly have Crosscode ported over to Android. And it's a really good game, and it's a game that I think is really cool on a portable device. There we go. And you can also port saves over from PC or from Android to Android. So I ported over the save I had on the Odin. And yeah, this is such a good looking game. It plays really nicely. It's kind of like a sort of single player MMO. If that sounds really cool to you, then give it a shot. But for me, after playing it for several hours, the MMO vibe started to grate on me. It's like, I thought to myself, if I want to play an MMO, I would just play an MMO. So I don't really understand why it's kind of like a single player one. But there is a story and different characters. It's really neat, and can you jump in this game, or is it just hopping? The combat's quite fun, you know, there's lots of cool little details, there's always people running around. You basically are living in like a digital MMO in this game, and yeah, it's pretty cool. There is part of me that would love to keep playing this, but it's just a bit grindy, and there's a lot of side quests. That's not really for me. I guess you could avoid them, but I don't know. But I do know this game has some pretty cool boss fights and things. These guys are also making a new RPG that's currently being kickstarted. Well, it was kickstarted and it's in development. I forgot the name of it, but it's a very Chrono Trigger-esque. No, wait, that's not these guys. That's the Messenger guys. These guys are making a new game though, and it's similar to this. I don't know how I got that confused, but yeah, these guys are making a new game. It's very early days, I think, but it looks really cool. Alright, sorry for that misinformation, but that's Crosscode for Android. Then there's this game I have on here called Sparklight. This is free, and it has a very nice 2D pixel art style, and I think it's a bit of a roguelike. I played it a bit on my Odin. I always thought maybe I would check it out again, so maybe I will one day when I'm bored. Looks very cool though. Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley is just amazing. It's always worth having. It's really cool to have this option on Android. And something I realized yesterday was that you can actually port over your PC saves over to Android. And I thought that was really neat, so I did that. I have like 2 major farms on the PC version. I had one I did on my own, and one I did with a co-op. Had a co-op partner, and we worked on this farm together. And yeah, we were very addicted to this game. We played this quite a lot when we did our co-op farm, and I'd actually really like to play this game again with mods. So I'd love to see this with the expanded mod, which just makes the game way bigger. And yeah, I don't know why I have a giant furnace room right next to the kids' room, but that's what I do. And yeah, got a nice big house. And outside, we have a horse with a golden coconut on his head. And I wish I could zoom out, but I can't. But like the entire right side of this farm is just sprinklers and making like a huge amount of crop. And it looks really cool in like summer and autumn in particular. Here I have a cemetery. We made a little cemetery. We just kind of wanted a little cemetery. We don't know why. Maybe wanted to feel like this farm had a long history. We thought that would be fun. And there's a kind of like little garden here. Just a nice set piece, which looks really cool in the different seasons, because all of these plants are seasonal, so they change every season. And since this is the regular farm, you have this little pond down here, and we just use the different woods and stuff and some lamps to give it a vibe, make it kind of nice. Down here, so it's winter, but these are all fruit trees, and they provide a lot of fruit. And we have 2 barns or little houses here, and they're distilleries. They're all filled with kegs and making as much wine as possible. And we use both of them to make as much wine as we can. So tons of wine, tons of money. And up here we have all the animals. So inside here we have a few different ponds for fishing, and a couple of coops for chickens, bunnies, black chickens, oh, and little dragons, I think. They added a couple other little animals. I can't remember what they were. And then we have a couple barns here. I think this one is the Fraser barn. At the time, it seemed like a good idea. It has jazz music playing, and all of these all these cows are named after characters from Frasier. I was gonna see if I could find Frasier. Nope, that's Niles. Gil. There's Frasier. Oh, he is happy. He's only got half a heart. Oh, they're all quite young. Fraser barn, and you make lots of cheese and other stuff in there, and then the other one's just filled with like, maybe this is all goats. Oh, it's a bit of everything. Pigs, cows, goats. Such a good game. And finally the greenhouse, and this is just filled with ancient berries that just keep growing and growing. Tons of ancient berries. Make wine and stuff out of that. I think so my house is like nicely decorated. I'm sorry, I'm just doing like this tour of my farm. This is my friend's house, and I don't know if she did a little bit of decoration. She just wanted it to be Christmas forever. And we both have basements, and in the basements there's loads of kegs to make cheese or something. We crack those open when they're ready. Make even more money. So yeah, that's my Stardew farm. And then Vampire Survivors is also free for Android. I don't know if you can find that on the Google Play Store on this device, but you can very easily find a APK for it and just sideload it to your device and get it running. And you know, this is cool to have because it is surprisingly addictive. I had like a good solid week, I think, where I just kept diving into this game. I unlocked a fair amount of characters and things, and I'm not going to play it now because, you know, once you start a run, you do get a bit addicted to all the chaos. And I just have some apps here. Chrome, really useful when playing certain games. You play in Chrome and you're like, oh, not playing Chrome. You open Chrome and you just use the voice commands to like look for like a guide or a hint or something on the game. Google Play is obvious. Moonlight is for PC streaming. I don't use that, but it's actually quite good. You know, you can easily connect your PC and go over and play Steam. I don't have Steam Link on here because I don't know why, actually, but you can easily do that on Moonlight as well, play your PC games. I have Skyline on here. Instead of having it as a game collection, I just have it as an app because how it kind of like changes, and I don't know, I just prefer having an app over here. And in here I have a few different games which I either can or hope to play on this device. I'd rather not do much Switch on here because it's a, you know, it's a weaker device. If I saw myself playing a lot of Switch emulated, I would use the Odin. And on here, I can tell you that Celeste works, Rogue Legacy 2 works, Shovel Knight Dig works, and Sonic Mania. I expected Katana Zero to work on here, and it doesn't. It just keeps crashing, or maybe I haven't figured out the right setting to get it going. But I have that game on here because I thought it would be nice to play on here someday when it is just like up and running. Same with Shovel Knight Pocket, that doesn't launch for some reason. Shredder's Revenge, I see no reason why it wouldn't work on Skyline on here, but the game cannot get to the title menu and it just keeps crashing. And Time Spinner as well is a fantastic Metroidvania, and it's on the Vita as well. And oddly enough, both of these versions, they both have the same crashing point. They both basically crash a little bit after the title menu. So Vita3K or Skyline, one of these is going to get that game running first. And it's a very good, it's kind of like a Symphony of the Night clone with other inspirations. So like the battle mechanics are similar to Order of Ecclesia. Very cool game. I'm not going to be like playing any Skyline here. PS Play, so I would test that on here, but it's currently, I have it all linked up on my Odin, and PS Play is a very, very good app just for remote playing your PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and there's very minimal latency when you use it. The only downside is you have to pay for it, but I absolutely say it's worth paying for. So if you want to stream a lot of PlayStation to your device, it's super worth doing. And I'm actually thinking about playing Bloodborne on here again sometime soon. Playing it remote play and just using the screen like it's a Switch. And yeah, very good app. Vita3K, so I did a video on this recently for both the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus and the Odin. I only have a few games on here for the Retroid Pocket that I think work well and are worth keeping. I think in the video I did, I also had like Tales of R and something like that on here. I'm not very interested in that game, so I got rid of it because I needed the space on the hard drive, on the internal hard drive. So yeah, all of these games work except Dragon's Crown has some graphics problems. I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see if an update will fix that, because we cannot add a GPU driver on here because this is a Mali device. But in my other video, I didn't have Super Meat Boy on here at the time, and this is like the only way to emulate this game on Android, I think. I don't think there's another emulator that has this game released for that device. So it's really cool to have a way to play Super Meat Boy on a handheld here. And it works really well. I'm just gonna dive into a level and just show you what it's like. I showed it on the Odin, but I didn't show it on the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus, so I'm just gonna do that very quickly. The sound's a bit scuffed here, just in that area, but once you get in game, it's fine. Yeah, very smooth, there's just no problems playing this. So I was saying in my cut video, the video that I was not recording yesterday, oops, next level. I have the buttons swapped over. So in the video I made yesterday, I was saying how, you know, maybe we won't get to play a lot of Vita on this device, but to have the option and then just have like a small selection of games that just really fit this device, I think is very cool. So I'm, you know, really happy that we have Vita3K on Android now. It's hot. So that's Super Meat Boy, and it's running absolutely smoothly. And I also have Twitch on here, but I don't actually use Twitch on these devices. I use it either on my PC or rarely my phone, but that's basically it. But I feel like I should have it on here, just in case like one day I'm out and about and I need like a slightly larger screen or a device with its own battery, rather than use my phone or something. So yeah, that is Android games. And we move over to MAME. I have, it says I have 100 down here, 100 MAME games, and when you download MAME games, it's very easy to download like thousands of them at a time, and you know, you find that probably 99% of them you won't play. So I actually like went through and just chose all the ones I thought I would really like to play. And here's an example of using the favorites menu. So if I press this, these are all the ones I've marked as favorited. So I can just quickly look through the ones like I definitely know I'd really like to play. In the video I did yesterday, I spent a little while checking out one of these games, and it was Ninja Baseball Batman, because it's oddly named and is actually a really fun game. It's nothing to do with Batman, it's just basically it means a man with a bat, or a batter, because they are baseball players, but they are also ninjas. Who'd have thought? I also have bezels for this. There's a bezel project you can download. I think I was trying to explain yesterday how I can't remember if it's a version of RetroArch or if it's a launcher that if you install, it will provide all these bezels, and then you can uninstall it and then just add your own stuff as you see fit. So I'm gonna just pick one of these characters and play a little bit of this game. So the bezels are kind of nice, you know, they add some immersion. The only downside is these ones include like a TV edge, and that can mask a little bit of the UI and stuff, which I think is kind of annoying. That's not a Batman, that's just a stick. Does this guy? Yeah, he does jump. And this is a really quality game. I'm always surprised that I've not seen this really on any other devices or consoles, because the quality's great and it's a really fun game. It's kind of like Ninja Turtles or Streets of Rage, or like the Simpsons arcade beat 'em ups. I feel like there's only 2 buttons. I don't actually know the controls. The nice thing about some of these bezels, even though they're low quality, they kind of like tell you some of the game's functions. Oh, I'm gonna die. Oh yeah. There's nothing in them. Yeah, I keep meaning to play more MAME games because it's a really, when you find some of these amazing games, it's a really cool collection to have. And it's just one of those things where you could actually just lay in bed all day and just play all these cool arcade games. I suppose it would also be a really cool project to. I saw Wolfden actually. He made his own cabinet, and I think he ended up using a Steam Deck or an AYN console to use as the as like the drive, the system for operating that cabinet, and having something a bit more dedicated to play arcade games is really cool. I actually have a couple of modern light guns to use and play old light gun games, so it'd be cool to set up something dedicated for those, but that's a project for another day. And yeah, I'm achieving nothing in that game, so we'll just move on to oh yeah, I was gonna say, so in this theme, also if I press the trigger buttons I can flip between different categories, which is nice. Sometimes I just flip back to the collection. So I got Game Boy Advance here, and I think what I was showing in the video yesterday was, I actually showed Virtua Tennis. I'm not going to do that again because it was so bright I couldn't really see the screen very well. Gunstar Superheroes is a sequel to Gunstar Heroes on the Game Boy no, not on the Game Boy, on the Sega Genesis. It's a pretty cool game. And yeah, this is the first look at my RetroArch. So I have these bezels on the side, and they're from Chrono Trigger. And I also have like my own hotkeys set up, so if I press L2 on triangle, I can get back into this menu. I'm just going to show you quickly that if I go down to on-screen display, on-screen overlay, and turn that on, and go down here to overlay preset, here is where I selected SNES CT integer. And I think the first time you come here, you're not actually in this folder. So if I go back to parent directory and show you that it's in a folder called borders, which is inside another folder here in RetroArch, but if we go back to parent directory, user, so here's the thing, data user 0. I just wanted to show you where you can get that that overlay. And when you've selected the overlay, you can use the settings here to kind of stretch it out and move it around on the screen so it's not covering the game so much, which is really handy. And yeah, so I've set it, but it's just this like nice bezels on the side. So when I'm playing RetroArch games, yeah, it's again a bit more immersive and fills the screen nicely. I also changed the ratio of these games so that it's usually set to automatic. I can't remember if it is for this one. I may have set all of them to be a custom ratio. If I go to video, I can't actually remember where it is. It's not in the quick menu, is it? Options, no, sometimes I forget all this stuff. It shouldn't be here. I would have thought it'd be in video. Scaling, my bad. And in this scaling, I have set it to config. Custom ratio of 1.42. I don't actually remember doing this. We'll have a look at this again with a different game. But basically the way I set it up is so that, especially NES, SNES, Mega Drive, instead of 4:3, it like stretches out just a little bit more. And I'm like comfortable with that. I'd rather it not stretch like the entire screen, because then the sprites will look too wide and that's just a bit too much. And yeah, just a little bit of stretch to fill out the screen a little bit more. And I think that looks really nice. I'm trying to remember the buttons. But yeah, I've set hotkeys up in this as well. So one thing I really like, if I hold L2 and I press left on the right trigger, it will rewind. And if I go right, it will fast forward. If I tap up, it will toggle the fast forward. I can toggle it again. If I tap down, it will go into slow motion. And I think, yeah, there's nothing on the click. If I'm trapped. If I hold the left trigger and press left and right, I can pick my save state slot. So I'm just going to keep it on 0. If I hold L2 and press L1, I'll load a save state. So I've actually played a little bit of this at some point. And if I press L2 and R1, I'll save the state. So those are my hotkeys. And then if I press L2 and triangle, I go to the menu. If I press L2 and start, I will quit the game. So that is Game Boy Advance and RetroArch. And Game Boy Color is similar. We'll have a look at the ratio here as well. So I was looking, so I was playing a little bit of Super Mario Land 2 yesterday, which, there we go, is opened. And if I go to the menu and go over to video and scaling. Okay, so if I keep moving this, yeah, so I guess I just decided that 1.42 was the correct amount of stretch I wanted on these games. So yeah, that's the ratio I have. Game Boy looks really nice on here too. I wanted to point out something, and that is if you go to the quick menu and go over to options, and where is it down here? GB colorization is set to GBC. One of these, I'm just going to go through my settings here, because one of these, I think it's color correction off and color correction mode accurate. I think those are the main culprits here. As long as you have those two settings, so color correction off and color correction accurate, Game Boy Color games should appear correctly in color. I noticed this specifically in Metal Gear Solid, because I would get to the main the menu of that game, and instead of it being a bright red, it would just be like a weird pink color. So I knew that the Game Boy Color games were just not looking right. So you change those settings and you'll fix the color correction. I don't know why it's set by default the other way, but yeah, it is what it is. Playing some of these old games is just really... I've never actually played Super Mario Land 2, but playing old Game Boy games, SNES, NES, really just like brings back a ton of memories from back in the day. This is a pretty fun game. Though I am just like running through. This game is a lot more fun than Super Mario Land 1. It really is. Oh, come on. I tell you what, I was playing a little bit of Castlevania 64 recently, and the platforming in that game is is something else. It's really hard. Oh, check that out. That's Super Mario Land 2. Yeah, so I was going to show quickly, if I go to Metal Gear Solid, if it'll let me. There we go. And I'm just going to fast forward and get to the menu. You can see that the color correction's right now. It's like a solid red. That's exactly how that should be. Moving on now, we're going over to Nintendo GameCube. So I've already done videos on GameCube, so I'm not really going to go through this again. But I'm just going to show here that in this launcher that I have set icons for different emulators. I basically only use Dolphin MMJR, and I have to use these emulators to play these games, because if I load, for example, 1080, once I've loaded the game, if I try and load a save state, they don't appear, which is annoying. But if you do want to play it this way through the launcher, then you can treat it just like a regular GameCube and just use your save slots. So if you're a purist and rather not use save states, then it won't actually affect you at all. This is the same for the Wii, and it's more important as well to use the emulator for the Wii, because there's certain quick config settings that you might want to access to change some of the Wii settings for the controller and some other stuff. So it's recommended to like go into the emulator. 3DS, I've done a lot of videos recently, so we checked out Citra MMJ, and more recently we checked out a build of Citra with Vulkan, which makes some of these games a lot more playable, and I'll leave links in the video description below to check out those videos for sure. N64 is interesting because I have not done a video on this yet for the Retroid Pocket, and I'm not sure if I'm going to, because I actually did a video on the Odin, and they're both Android devices, so it's the same emulator, it's the same settings. So if you want to find out how to like set up your Retroid Pocket for N64 properly, I'll leave a link in the description for that video as well, because it's exactly the same. So if I go to, I can just open the emulator here. It's it's M64 Plus FZ Pro. I paid for this version because I did not want to keep seeing ads, and I'll just show quickly here that, you know, I have a profile selected that I've made myself called widescreen, and if I manage that profile, I was trying to remember yesterday which one of these settings I used, But again, I'll link the video and you can check that out. But one of these plugins here, they give you an option to use the like experimental widescreen hack, and you know that's the best way to get widescreen on this device. So if I was going to check out Zelda, for example, and resume, okay, maybe not resume, maybe load. Then you can see I have Ocarina of Time here in widescreen. It's just that the HUD is in the usual position for the original version, which is 4:3 ratio. And if you would rather have the HUD moved over, you can actually modify and patch the original ROM to have a widescreen version, and then these will move over. But then you have to set custom art in the emulator, which I didn't realize you could do at the time, so it might actually be worth getting widescreen patches for some of these games, just to truly appreciate the feeling of it, feeling like a proper widescreen game. And it's really cool. You can also do this on RetroArch on the N64 cores. You can play widescreen there too if you prefer. I think that, but to play it properly, you need to set your button layout to Xbox, otherwise I think you'll have problems with some of these buttons. That was the case with the Odin anyway. I don't know if it's the same for the Retroid Pocket, but yeah, I just wanted to show that in action. And yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this emulator. I actually prefer this emulator over RetroArch because you can set up controller profiles and load them individually for certain games, which is really handy and really useful to me personally. Because Castlevania, for example, I was playing that recently, and I have a controller profile because in the game it maps a lot of buttons to the C-stick, which you sometimes map to the stick, and I've mapped buttons everywhere to make this feel like a much easier to play like 3D platformer. And yeah, widescreen as well, looks really good. And I was playing this a little bit this morning, and I saw Dracula, and then I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep playing because yeah, it kind of is an annoying game to play. There's something about it. There's something about it. N64 games have like a weird kind of, like, either this game is going to be really good or it's going to be really bad. And plus, you know, it's like early 3D days, and the N64 frame rates, sorry, I just yeah, there's something. It's always weird to think about GoldenEye just like hardly ever hitting 30 frames per second. Or 60. Was it? Could it do 60? But yeah, I never played the sequel to this on the N64, Legacy of Darkness. And I've heard that one's a bit better, so maybe I should give that one a go instead. It's just locking on to whatever it wants. I'm not doing that. But yeah, that's N64, and I have a fair amount of N64 games on here. It says 92, I think that says. And yeah, there's tons of N64 games you could get if you downloaded them all. But again, I just try and curate a list I think I might play one day or another. I mean, that's crazy, isn't it? We've got hundreds of games on here between consoles, and you know, a lot of these I played in my younger days, but I guess at one point I might return to some of them. It's just cool to have them and seeing them work like even better in some ways. Nintendo DS. So this is a frustrating one actually, because it was updated recently in line for something to do with like Android 11, and so now if I were to open a game, I've set the directories to the correct folder locations, but it won't open games anymore. It will always open the emulator, which is really annoying. So it doesn't matter which one of these games I pick, and they used to load straight in, and they don't do that anymore, so that sucks. I don't know if that will ever get fixed. But yeah, this is a Nintendo DS on here, and I'm just going to load up, for example, where's Super Mario 64? Because I wanted to show not only the bezels I have, because I created my own bezels. So I used artwork from a fan game I worked on called RetroArch, which never got released, and I can switch between screens, and I made bezels for this layout and this layout. You can see like these lines on the side, or they're part of the image. And I also wanted to just talk about how I also have 60 FPS codes on this, and I have videos on that for the Odin as well, but it translates to the Retroid exactly, so I feel like I don't need to make a video on that again, but I'll leave a link in the description to show how you can get these codes and how to get them working on the simulator. But it's super nice to see some of these games really smooth. There's not codes for every game, and not all of them will always work. I managed to get them working on certain games, like Metroid. The Metroid Prime Hunters game, I think, is now on 60 FPS with a code. It's just super smooth. Oh, these damn boos. Yeah, Nintendo DS is an interesting collection to have. There's a lot of good games on there, and it's nice to tweak them and find different codes and things if you can. I'm trying to think of another game I might have that has codes. I also, again, have like the screen stretched out a certain way. It looks really good for 2D games as well. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to press this button and change. No. Change game. I like to play a lot of Tetris DS. That's like one of the best versions of Tetris you can get. I have mods to play The Legend of Zelda with a controller instead of a stylus. I'm just going to have a quick look here and see if there's something else I can see that I did in 60 FPS. Oh yeah, if I ever play Pokemon again someday, I've only ever played Pokemon Red, basically. But I understand that Heart Gold and Soul Silver are like some of the best Pokemon games you can play. So, you know, I might do that someday. Yeah, just flicking through these DS games. I have about 100 on here. And there was a reason for that, but I just sort of looked through and tried to pick ones I knew I might enjoy someday. I can't remember what else I have for 60 FPS on here, but that's my Nintendo DS stuff. NES is a collection I wish I played more of. And you could have hundreds and hundreds of NES games if you kept them all. I've only kept, it says 94 there, and some of these it's weird, like Boulder Dash is one I forgot to add, and that one is like a huge part of my childhood, because me, my mum, and my brother used to play this game so much and try and finish it. It's a really hard game. It starts off simple, and then it gets way harder. So if I just go to level 1, I'll just show a brief glimpse of this game. It's literally just like mining and collecting gems and trying to not let these rocks fall on you. If you just go underneath a rock, you can let it fall down the little path you made, and all of these rocks will cascade and fall left and right appropriately. So it starts off... Oh, dude, I let the gem kill me. But I can rewind. Love it. That's super handy for me doing these videos. But yeah, this game gets a lot more complicated later on. There's like new mechanics they introduce that you have to figure out. There's also really annoying enemies that you have to kill and drop boulders on. So if you want like a fun little arcadey puzzle game, this one does the trick. Really cool game. Yeah, I've got a ton of these like decent NES games on here. One that all the Mega Man games, all the Mega Man games. One game I added on here recently, and I totally forgot about again, is Solar Jetman. This is another one we played a lot as kids, and it's by Rare, so it's like the Donkey Kong Country guys, GoldenEye, etc. And it's actually a really cool little game with really good music. So you travel to all these different planets, and you're basically trying to find parts for your ship. And there's like a secret ship you can build. It's like a secret ending. If you find all the pieces for that ship, you get treated to like this cool level at the end of the game. And yeah, you're in this like weird egg pod, which rotates kind of nicely. There's nice animation on that. And you use your rockets to burst around, and you can shoot too. And yeah, the game gets a lot more intense as you go along. But it's when you start picking up some of the ship parts. I'll show that in a moment, if I can do this. Oh no, I'm gonna get hit. Oh yeah, and you lose your ship. You lose your ship, and then you are a little man. But I need my ship to pick up this ship part, and it will add like a little rope to it and add weight to your ship. So it's even harder to travel back up and out. So if I go back to my ship here, I can get another one. And this is when you go like Dark Souls mode, where you're like, the boss has killed you, and you're like, no, I'm not having that, and you run back even faster than you did before. And yeah, there we go. And then the thing lassos to your ship. It's really heavy. And there's way too much momentum on my ship. I drop it in. So now I have a new ability for my little pod. I can press down and got a little shield going on. Yeah, really cool game. Worth checking out. And yeah, I got a ton of cool little NES games there. Next collection is PSP, and I've done several videos on the PSP. But I was saying yesterday that this device is just perfect for the PSP. It's just like a glove, and I fully encourage that you should get like a very good PSP emulation collection for this device, because it just works. It's just such a nice thing to have. And I was playing something yesterday. I was basically showing Tekken 6 again, and it's like having Tekken 6 is just, you see it in motion. You're like, that game looks so good, and it's like 2x or 3x on this device. I'm just gonna play it for a little bit because it's like. Damn, that music, every time you load up Tekken and the music's like, yeah, you're in the mood. I'll just fast forward this.
Go easy on me.
Round one. Fight.
Damn, so many kicks. She won't stop. She won't stop. I didn't know you could do that.
Round two. Fight.
Yeah, I don't know how to play Tekken. I basically treat it like Dead or Alive. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
You win.
Hey, did you hurt yourself?
What a
Get ready
bitch.
for the next match. Round one.
Oh, that guy's huge.
Fight.
Not that it matters. that kick move, dude. I can't figure out how to do any other moves. Very cool. Very cool to have Tekken on the PSP like that. Really fun. So that's PSP. I've done like several videos. There might even be a new update to PPSSPP. I'll have to check that one out again. PlayStation is one I haven't done many or any videos on the Retroid Pocket because I guess it just works. It's not hard to set up, and I got like a ton of games on here as well. Here's Castlevania Symphony of the Night. It'd be nice to have bezels for this as well, but because most of the games are in widescreen, there's a widescreen hack you can apply in the emulator. I actually didn't show that yesterday. I can't remember where it is on the emulator, but I've set up a custom ratio for 2D games that are in a 4:3 ratio, so they're like stretched out a little bit more. I think it's hard to notice as long as you don't stretch it out too much, but just enough to fill the screen a little bit. Yeah, Symphony of the Night is amazing, and there's also this really cool hard mode mod for Symphony of the Night, which makes it very, very, very hard to play, and you have to be a lot more strategic about how you go through the castle and fight enemies and bosses. I modded that. I think I played that on my Odin. No, I played it on my Vita. Yeah, I put it on my Vita. And that was a sick game to play. I'm just gonna stab him in the crotch until he dies. Police report says that he was stabbed in the crotch until he died. Yeah, it's super awesome to have that game. I don't know if I can check the settings here. I'm trying to think. Maybe it's in enhancements. There's the widescreen hack. You can turn that on, and I'll show you a couple of games that do this actually. So I think the ones I looked at yesterday was, first of all, Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot, I wanted to show Crash Bandicoot because this is one where the widescreen works, but you have like this glitchy effect on the side where it's sort of like not properly rendering everything, and I don't know if that's a problem with the widescreen or if it's just the way the game was made. Because we'll show with another game actually that the widescreen can and will work perfectly. Oh, he's just dead. I forgot this is like a one-shot game. I never really played the PlayStation platformer games. They weren't. I was a Nintendo guy, so I was more than happy to play things like Super Mario 64, Banjo-Kazooie, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, as you're just running through, you actually, when you're just playing, you don't really notice the effect on the sides as much. And he's dead. Whereas, I think I showed... one of the Spyro games, actually. It was Year of the Dragon. Can I just tap that? You can scroll with your finger, but you can't tap them. That's, that's annoying. Year of the Dragon.
Look here, Dragon. If you know what's good for you, you'll turn around and crawl back up that hole you came through.
Wow.
Those eggs belong to us.
But yeah, you'll see that the widescreen here works perfectly. No glitchy stuff. Just how it's meant to be. So yeah, super cool that you can. Okay, there is a tiny bit of glitchy stuff on the sides, but very hard to notice. And yeah, it's really cool to think about playing different PS1 games and utilize the whole screen like this. It's really gorgeous. I think the game is set to like 1080p.
Yo, Spyro, I just found one of those portal thingamajigs that leads to a different world, but you'll have to glide to get across to it. Press the X button to jump, then press the X button again while you're in the air to glide.
No way. Oh, is he gonna do it? No, he just has a sick-ass jump.
I saw something shiny in that cave over there. Let's go check it out.
I don't like this guy. He gives me weird vibes. Come into this cave with me, Spyro. No way, man. So that's PlayStation 1. You want to be careful if you set custom ratios for a game with pre-rendered backgrounds. Otherwise, it won't like track the character properly. Same with widescreen hacks. So a game like Final Fantasy VII, for example, you might need to keep at a 4:3 ratio. So if I was to just load that up for a moment actually and go to disc 1, the widescreen looks magnificent for battles, which is awesome. Oh, that's slow. No, it's not. Give you a little bit of the bolt action. What a game. But then when you're back on the main screen, so yeah, I think this is set to widescreen, and you can see that I'm just running over bits of the background that I shouldn't be, and it's not letting me go down any further than that, so it starts getting confusing where to go. I think if you press select, it can show you the exits. So you might be able to figure it out that way, but I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, it might not work very well to have widescreen on a game like this. Maybe you want to set it to 4:3. You might be able to stretch it out a little bit, but I just wanted to show that. Whoops. What am I doing? I'll just close it that way. So that's PS1. PS2 I've already done a video on, and I was thinking about doing another video, but basically all the games I have here, I believe most of them are playable. And some of these games, for example, like Burnout 3, Burnout Revenge, and Devil May Cry 3, have these PNAC codes. I'm going to say PNAC because it just sounds right to me. It's spelled P-N-A-C-H. I think someone in the comment was like, got angry at me because it's pronounced patch. It's like, why is it not called patch? But whatever. It's kind of like if someone had a go at you for saying GIFs. It's like, it's GIFs. It's like, I don't care, man. GIF sounds better. So yeah, I believe most of these games are actually playable on here. I've tested a bunch of them, but not all of them. I think Gran Turismo 3 has some problems as well. I've seen some people say it plays perfectly, but I don't know if I fully agree with that. The Metal Gear Solid games, I just keep them on here because I just like testing those, but those do not run like that fantastically on here. Same goes for Onimusha 3. That game actually does not run very well. Someone pointed that out to me, and I tried to get it run, but it does have problems that you just cannot fix. But yeah, this is an incredible library of games to have. I remember down here at the bottom, for example, I wanted to talk about Way of the Samurai 1 and 2 for a moment. Way of the Samurai 2, well, both of them, they're really cool games where you like play as a samurai, where you just enter like a location. So in this case, it's like this island, and there's like a festival gonna happen or something. But on this island is like different factions, like there's like different families, or like the police state, or other samurai, and you can like join or betray these people. You can kill this guy right here for no reason at all. So you can sort of play the story how you want. And it has like a roguelike element to it, where so you can die and you'd have to start your entire game again. But the game isn't actually that big, and it's set across like several days or a week or something. And when you finish your playthrough, you can, for example, find like these really cool swords and level them up. And as long as you bank them, you can keep them and bring them back into your next playthrough. So you can like tackle harder challenges. Really, really cool game. And this game is an example where you have to turn GPU palette conversion on for the game settings. It's very rare to see a game that just works a lot better because of that setting, but this is one of them. So if you turn GPU palette conversion on, this game will run fantastically. And this game has an incredible combat system. So, you know, you can do loads of cool moves. But it also has like a parry and deflect system. So this guy is attacking me. If I... Oh my god. If I like pick the right direction, so if I either hold forward or hold back there, and then I manage to do an instant kill and just like take out his back. Now all the moves he just did are bound to the sword he just dropped. So if I level up that sword, I can learn and do all those moves in combat. It's really sick. I think he was a policeman as well, so I should probably get out of here. But the Way of the Samurai 1 and 2, I have more memories with the first game, but those games are really, really sick. Really good games. And I just recently played and finished yesterday Haunting Grounds. Now, Haunting Grounds is a Capcom game that's like a survival horror game, and you can't like attack or do anything, but you have a dog. And basically, throughout the entire game, you're like stalked through this huge castle. And I'm just going to load this save here, which is at the end of the game. It's like a secret room thing. You can look at videos and stuff. Oh, I forgot she's like in this sexy outfit. I should probably change that. Pick her Texas Cowgirl. I'll just pick an outfit, a normal outfit. And yeah, this dog is with you like throughout most of the game, and you can train him. You can, so basically, the more you like praise him and feed him, the more he'll respond to your commands. And you can like seek him on the enemy, and he'll like bite their wrist and jump on them. And you can also kick the enemy. You can kick the dog if you want, but I'm not gonna kick the dog. And it's just the level of quality in this game is so surprising. It's like a massive castle. Like, it's a big maze, and there's not one load screen. So I can't exit this room because it's like a secret option. So in here I can look at if I go over to the bed, for example, there's loads of dolls, and I can look at character models. So I can look at Huey, for example, the dog, who's really cool. And there's some different endings to this game as well. It's a very unique game, and if you're looking for something different, it's worth checking out. And it's just very well made, really cool models, cool animations. The cinematics are well done, and I don't want to like look at that too much because I'll be spoiling. But yeah, and there's like different places you can hide. You can even get away with like getting in a corner like this and just crouching, and like the person stalking you might not see you. So yeah, it's kind of strange. I don't know. I don't know if I'd say it's super scary, but there's some very tense moments where like the enemy is after you and the music builds, and yeah, it can freak you out a little bit here and there, which surprised me. So I had a lot of fun playing this game, and I just wanted to check that out one more time. Sega Genesis, just another amazing collection to play on RetroArch. I think yesterday I was checking out Castlevania Bloodlines for a little bit. I don't know if I have a save. I do not. I'm just going to toggle this and get to the beginning of the game. But again, these are like custom ratios, bezels. Just a nice experience to like jump in and play an old game. And Bloodlines is really sick. I think it's the first soundtrack by Michiru Yamane, who went on to do like the rest of the Castlevania music for quite some time, up until the DS games. Mega Drive and Sega Genesis is something I've actually been meaning to play more of. I was more of a SNES person back in the day, but you know, we did have a Mega Drive and played a lot of it. Played the Sonic games to death, like honestly, like over and over. It's weird how as a kid you can just keep doing that. You're just happy to just sit and play the same game over and over. But yeah, man, it was a different time. So yeah, that's some Mega Drive, and there's not really much else to really like dig in and show, but I got like a nice Mega Drive collection. It's 163 games I decided might be worth playing and checking out again. Landstalker's pretty sick little action RPG, if you're into that. Moonwalker. Moonwalker is almost like a meme, and you just gotta have it. Just gotta keep it. Shining Force games are excellent, cool little tactical games. They're just very fun to play, and they're not too deep, but deep enough for you to like get invested and just keep going battle after battle. Streets of Rage, but now I have the Streets of Rage remake on Vita, so I have like the best version of Streets of Rage on my Pocket finally. Yeah, super cool. Sega CD, I only have Shining Force CD. I'm not even sure if it works. So, it works on my Odin, but that was like one I thought I might get around to one day. Dreamcast. Now, Dreamcast is another sick collection to have on a device like this. You know, I'd say if you want like the most perfect experience and go as high as possible, Dreamcast and PSP are like the best experiences you can have on here. Although I'm of the mindset that you can play a ton of GameCube, and I've shown it in my videos. GameCube, some Wii, and a decent amount of PS2. But for PSP and Dreamcast, you basically can play those entire libraries with higher res, and it looks gorgeous. So yesterday I was actually looking at, I guess it was Jet Set Radio, and I'm using Redream for this. And I was briefly talking about how in this emulator, you need to have a GDI version of the ROM. If you have a CDI, which is a little bit smaller, it won't let you access... Sorry, the buttons are different here. It won't let you access the cheats and edit cheats. And in Redream, that's really important because there's a lot of widescreen codes for all these games. So Jet Grind, well, it says Jet Grind. We all know it's Jet Set Radio. Has a widescreen code, and playing a lot of these Dreamcast games in widescreen looks so nice. But yeah, if you're concerned about file size, you can turn a GDI into a CHD, I think. So bin queues, ISOs, and GDI can be compressed to a CHD, and they nearly cut out like a third of the data. So if you had 100 gigabytes of games and you were able to convert all of them to CHD, you would go down to like 65, 70 gigabytes. That's a ton of memory save. And I think Retro Game Core recently did a video where he explained and shows how to do all this compression yourself. So if I remember, I should link a video to that as well, and you can check that out. If you don't really have an SD card, that's just a necessity for your internal hard drive. But I have like a 512 gigabyte SD card in here, I think. It's either that or 256. I remember I had one of them spare, and I just decided that I just wanted to fill it full of games. And if it wasn't for compression, I would not have nearly as many games as I currently have on here. And I absolutely love the Dreamcast collection. So if I close this and that, so how many games do I have on here? I can't actually see. 93, and most of these games are just ones like I really adore. I've not played all of them, but when I did have a Dreamcast, and the Dreamcast might be my favorite console of all time. I'm not sure. It just has an incredible collection of games, and a lot of these I did end up playing back in the day. And you were at the time able to burn ROMs of games onto a CD and play them on your actual Dreamcast with like no effort, like they just worked. It was really cool. But I only did that with like a certain amount of games. Space Channel 5. Dude, I remember I got a Dreamcast for Christmas. It's one of my favorite memories of all time. I got a Dreamcast with Sonic Adventure. It also came with Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation and UEFA Striker, which I didn't want, but they came with a bundle, so I tried to play them, but I didn't really like them, so I sold them. I also got Shenmue. Oh gosh, Shenmue at that point in time was it was the best. I was so happy. And then like a day or two later, I went down to this market and I found Space Channel 5 for secondhand, and I bought that and I played the crap out of that. Love Space Channel 5. So Dreamcast is funny enough, I actually bought the Odin as like the perfect portable Dreamcast emulation device, and then it basically became the PS2 device. And honestly, just having a really great Dreamcast collection is just one of the best joys of playing emulated games. I love it. And last, we're going to have a look at some SNES, and there's loads of SNES games worth playing. Loads of terrific RPGs, platformers, Donkey Kong Country. Such a good library of games. The SNES is just out of this world good. Lethal Weapon. I should delete that. It's actually so bad. It's a really bad game. Mega Man X 1, 2, and 3. Dynamite games. Such a good collection. I'm just gonna jam Sparkster for a moment. Do I have a save? I don't. Sparkster has a really, really cool soundtrack. And Sparkster was basically going to be like Konami's mascot, but just didn't pan out that way. I can imagine a really cool 3D Sparkster game, because he has a jetpack. If you hold the attack button, he can like go in different directions. Does this go up? I'm turning that up. There is a bit of slowdown, but I'm pretty sure that's in-game slowdown and not emulator. You just look at these effects. Sparkster is also on the Genesis, but they're completely different games. They're like two different versions of the same game. I'm just trying to remember if there's any other buttons. Oh, he's dead. So we defeated the bouncing metal monkey, and he just charges right in there. He can hang off stuff. Also, if you're in a small area, he will just bounce back off walls for the remainder of his like jetpack charge. Dude, that sonic broom is so weak. It looks like a sonic broom. But yeah, the movement is what makes this game really fun. Look at this. Whee! I'm just flying through the level, I don't really care. And yeah, it's such a joy to play a ton of SNES on here. I was actually trying to play. Where are you? I was trying to play Yoshi's Island, but when I was playing, I kept doing this thing where, so this is World 2. I got to 2-4, and instead of saving, I loaded my state. So I need to like stop depending on save states, because I constantly do stuff like this. And yeah, Yoshi's Island looks beautiful on here too. So it's like everyone says this is an amazing platformer. For me, it's not as good as I remember. I would prefer to play something like Super Mario World, I think, but it is a really good game. I just find that maybe, I don't know, like this game looks really good, but I kind of think that Super Mario World's levels are a bit like more creative. But oh, it's Pooch. But I'm sure my memories of this game are like the much later levels. And I remember like some really cool stuff, like being on like a little moon, fighting a boss, and you just like run round and round in circles. There's some really cool stuff later on in this game. But yeah, I was talking to my brother about this game, and he was like, he agreed as well. He was like, yeah, Super Mario World's kind of more fun, but this game does have like a really good vibe. It's really unique. And I don't think any other Yoshi game has really sort of compared to this ever since this came out. Although I do kind of like Yoshi's story on the N64. I think that's really cute. But yeah, man, Yoshi's Island just so nice on here. And then the last collection is Wii, but I've done an entire video on every one of these games I have here, and nearly all of them were playable in some way. Even Wii Sports Resort, I did a controller config video where I tried to get this game running, and so this is an example where I have to open MMJR and then open this game, and I have like loads of save states on here. I think it's just gonna like quick load into the first one, but we'll see. It's taking its time. Oh, golf, man. So I managed to like put the controls on like the stick and stuff. Wait, well, I have to hold A and then B. Oh, it's really shoddy. It doesn't really work super well with golf, even though that wasn't a bad swing. It's on the green. It's on the fairway, I mean. I have loads of save states for this game. If I load the first one, it's fencing. No, that's the menu for games. Oh, sorry, I'm pressing the wrong buttons. This one. Oh wait, so this is top. Point the Wii remote at the screen. I've forgotten my own. Like that, okay. I used the pointer. And then just waggle, waggle, waggle. Just whack him off. It's jokes, man. As long as it's jokes, it's fun. We're having a good time. Look at that. In the face, down in the legs, and boom. It's like that TV show, that Wipeout something. Round 2, fight. So I'm using the touchscreen to use the cursor as well. There's like some other buttons to deflect. I've forgotten what is what. I'm just gonna whack his ass. That's so good. Look at that! Cha 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 cha. He's not getting away. Is there one more? Let's just destroy this man. Oh no, it's 2 out of 3. There you go. Dude, I love this device so much, and I will be doing a video soon, whenever it gets shipped, where I'm going to get the Retroid Pocket grip. So I'll do a review on that. I feel like I just said grip funny. like really aggressively grip. And I'm also getting a new shell, which is the clear blue, and I'm planning to do a dye on that with some black. I want to see if I can kind of like retain the see-through, but like make it a little darker. So interested to see how that will turn out. And I'm also going to get some haul sticks that they are selling as well, so I'll see what those are like. So I'll do a whole video on that like batch of things that are coming and see how that turns out. But that's the end of the collection. It's back to Android. I believe I have showcased everything that's on my device. I don't think there's anything more I really want to put on here unless, for example, Vita3K gets even better and works a little better on this device. Same with the Switch, but I don't really see that happening in the near future. And I'm not terribly interested in Android games on here, so I don't think I'll be playing any new ones on here. Although the Final Fantasy remake that's for Android, which remakes 7 and some other stuff in that kind of like pre-rendered style but with better graphics. I'll be curious if that works on here. If not, I'll play it on my Odin. And I think that's about everything. It was kind of disorienting because yesterday I was recording for ages and then finding out that like 2/3 to 3/4 of the video didn't actually happen, and when I went to press the stop button, I just sat there like, no, did I really just sit up doing this video that doesn't exist? So yeah, and I don't know if I'll be adding any other games to these collections. I pretty much have what I want. We won't be seeing any improvements to A for SX2 because the creators abandoned the project, so what we have is what we have. But there's so many games that you can play on here already. It's fantastic, so can't really complain about that. Yeah, so I pretty much have everything I want on here. So what do you like to do on your Retroid Pocket, and has any of this inspired you to do something different with yours? Maybe it's the launcher, maybe it's certain applications, or some games where you thought, actually, oh, I'd love to play something a little bit different. Let me know in the comments, and I think that's everything. So if you enjoyed that video, please do give it a like, subscribe, and hit that bell to get notified of new videos. This was a pretty long one, but I was trying to do like a nice showcase of what I have, and maybe people will come across that video, and any questions they have will sort of be answered in this one. I'll try and divide and tag everything properly, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you very much, have a great day, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Bye bye.